Good afternoon and welcome to Valley News Now. I'm Adam Shalfo and I'm joined by Molly Martinez from our DC Bureau. Molly, thank you so much for joining me today. We're talking about a new bill, and let's just kind of get into what that entails. The House on Wednesday passed a $895 million measure that authorizes a 1% increase in defense spending this fiscal year and would give a double digit raise to about half of the enlisted servicemen in the military. The bill traditionally strong bipartisan, but some Democratic lawmakers opposed the inclusion of a ban on transgender medical treatments for children of military members if such treatments could result in sterilization. So the bill passed the House by a vote of 281 to 140. Next step goes through the Senate, where lawmakers it sought a bigger boost in defense spending than the current measure allows. So once again, joined by Molly here. Molly, thank you so much for joining me, and let's just jump right into it. Tell us more about the bill.
Hey, Adam, great to see you. So, this is a yearly bill that they put out, and they have put out this defense spending package every year for the past 6 decades. So, this is a major bill that really sets the tone of how we plan on putting out the architecture for how we protect our country. And this also includes what our priorities are in terms of foreign wars. And so this particular bill, sort of the big headline, as you mentioned, is this transgender affirming care for youth in the military. But there are so many other assets of this bill that go and will go for the next year and really set the tone, like I said, for how we plan on defense spending.
And so, talking a little bit more about this, how did the voting go? Was it a situation where Democrats and Republicans maybe butting heads, or was it an issue that was more case by case as far as different representatives feeling different ways?
Yeah, so Adam, this is historically a very bipartisan bill, and the way it shook out this way this time around was 281 to 140. So it did pass. There were about 80 Democrats that voted for it, but like I said, there are all these cultural issues that are now tacked onto this bill of what otherwise would have been a very bipartisan bill. And the leader, Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, said that he believed it was a good bill, but there are these sort of outlier pieces included in the bill. There's something called, it's very festive, a Christmas tree bill. And that is when you have a major piece of legislation that things are tacked onto to the point where they'll get passed through the finish line, but people don't feel good about it. But they really need to sort of see the forest through the trees here. The main part here is this military spending bill. And now people are really upset that this additional measure was included dealing with this transgender youth care.
Well, let's talk about the military spending. It's well documented. The United States spends already a ton on the military. Is this something where it's just a part of everything around the world is getting a little bit more expensive, therefore they're spending a little bit more on military, or are they looking to significantly amp things up?
So, Adam, historically, this has been one of the government's biggest expenditures. It is a huge cash cow, and there are many different rivulets that go into defense spending. That includes defense contracting, the whole production of the war machine that is the United States. And right now, we are involved in two wars in Israel and Hamas, in Ukraine. And also, there is a war brewing right now in China and Taiwan. And they're really looking ahead here to what a possible war with China would look like. And they're trying to allow enough funding to prepare for that. You mentioned earlier that there's going to be a price hike for enlisted service members, and they're going to get a pay bump. And it's a 14% bump for sort of the lowest level of military enlistees. And from the service people with whom I have spoken, they think this is a great thing because the pay is not good for somebody who's just enlisting for the first time. A lot of times food stamps are involved. It's a really hard life. And the military is worried that they're going to lose out on quality candidates to the private sector because they can get a better paying job at, say, Burger King. So they really want to make it attractive and a livable salary to enlist in the United States Army or any branch of the military. And so that was a big priority this time around. But then also, they're really going to invest in, they're investing, in fact, $15.6 billion to build military capabilities in the Indo-Pacific region. And that is in direct response to sort of keeping an eye on China and reading the writing on the wall of what could become a huge military adversary in China. So they really want to get their ducks in a row should something break out in that corner of the world.
Having spoken to different members, active members of the military, one of the things I hear is that they're looking to have more money, not just to take care of themselves, but take care of their family. Does this substantially help their ability to do things like that?
Yeah, the idea of this 14% raise, and also there's another 4.6% raise. I believe that's the correct number. It's around 4%, that will go towards the quality of life. So they're really listening to those who are in the military, listening to their needs, and trying to acquiesce to those needs, knowing that, they take care of us, we need to take care of them, sort of having that ethos as they go in when negotiating these pay raises. And so I think they're trying to be mindful of that. Of course, being in the military is a career choice, and a lot of times that comes with supporting a family. And so there are other members, there are other Americans that come along with someone who is enlisted in the military that the military also needs to care for. So I do believe that lawmakers are trying to be mindful of that.
Now, it sounds like the transgender healthcare aspect of this could be called controversial. Do you think that's fair? And do you think that there's any other controversial aspects of this bill?
Yeah, it's certainly become a cultural touchstone, especially as we saw on the campaign trail. This has really become a cornerstone of this cultural war. And Democrats have strong opinions of it. Republicans have strong opinions of it. The Democrats that have spoken out, Representative Adam Smith of Washington says that this is going to really only affect maybe 1,000 children of military members that are seeking gender affirming care. And he says that this type of care is not only life changing, it could be life saving. But the concern among Republicans is that this is a bell that you can't unring. This is a decision made at the narrow end of the wedge of a child's life that could have irreversible consequences in terms of fertility down the road. And so they really want to set some rules to avoid infertility with children who believe that they need gender affirming care. But Democrats say this is it allows someone to be their authentic self. So there's a lot of discussion and debate over this issue. But as Adam Smith said, it really only affects 1,000 or so of these military children. And so Republicans have been critical of this inclusion of this ban in this defense bill, sort of wondering why they're going the extra mile to exclude care for a very small group of people, and why that should be in a much greater defense bill when the two really don't have anything to do with each other. Another big controversy in this bill, and a reason that what's her name? Representative Sarah Jacobs of California. She is on the House Armed Service Committee. She didn't vote for the bill because it doesn't expand IVF treatments for those in the military. And this is another point of medical care that people are seeking, IVF treatments. If a woman is deployed and wants to start a family, IVF is an attractive option because it allows sort of the autonomy to choose when to start a family, how to start a family. And by excluding that, it makes the military lose candidates. And so they really, the argument here is the military needs to make joining it an attractive option. And by cutting out all of these sort of medical provisions, it's alienating some people that otherwise would have joined.
Some terrific information there. Thank you very much. Let's just talk about what comes next, and are there any expectations?
Yeah, so soon to be Senate leader John Thune of South Dakota, he says that they're going to get this bill on the floor in the Senate early next week. It is likely that they will add more spending to it. As of right now, this bill is just shy of $1 trillion. It would not surprise me if it passed that threshold by the time it's fully hammered out and across the finish line. This, like I said before, is a bill that they have to pass. This is not something that they can kick the can down until next year. They absolutely need to pass this bill in order to keep the lights on, but also this is their biggest expenditure and they have to come to an agreement on it. So John Thune says that they're going to tackle this next week. Like I said, there should be some more spending tacked onto that. What that looks like exactly and what Senate priorities are with this bill remain to be seen.
Thank you very much, Molly. Is there anything else you want to touch on or something that we didn't get to regarding this topic you feel is important for people watching at home to know?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate how much focus is on China right now and how much they're looking to sort of get a foothold in that region should something go down with China. They want to keep a step ahead of this. As of right now, the US-Chinese relation is slightly adversarial, but certainly not in any sort of war scope. But Taiwan, there are many geopolitical factors in that region that could sour very quickly. And so they're really looking to have a presence there just in case. So it's going to be really important to keep an eye on how much they're investing in that area in preparation of something maybe happening.
Thank you so much for joining me and some terrific information. I hope you have very happy holidays and a great rest of your day, Molly. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Molly Martinez from the D.C. Bureau. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in on Valley News Now. We'll